Okay, thanks everyone, and welcome to this webinar. It's part of the Soil Wealth ICP webinar series, and Soil Wealth ICP is a collaboration between the vegetable industry, Hort Innovation, AHR, and RMCG. I'm from RMCG, and I'll be hosting this webinar. I guess, first of all, before we get into the meaty part of the discussion, I just wanted to acknowledge the country on which we all meet, and also elders past, present and emerging. I'm on Wurundjeri country in Melbourne. I think also just a bit of housekeeping. We can ask questions as we're going in either the chat or the Q&A. We have a fairly, I guess, busy agenda, and I'll just run through briefly around the overview of what we will be discussing. So first of all, myself, as I mentioned, from RMCG, I'll be presenting a overview of the issue around plastics and some of the solutions that we can implement. We've then got Adam Burberry from AgSafe, who will be talking about drum muster, bag muster and ChemClear. I'll then be talking with Lok Chow about how he implements some of the plastic management at their property with Coolabah Herbs. And then at the end, we hope to have a bit of time for questions from the participants and any burning issues that you might like to discuss as well. We'll address those. So if we first get into the sort of big picture overview around plastics, I guess this is really thinking about what some of the problem plastics are, but also importantly, what are some of the solutions that we can think about when we're looking at plastics on our farm. I should say that the work that we've done in the past has mainly been around on-farm plastics, and we recognise that there's also a lot of plastics throughout the supply chain that you as growers are contending with. We've probably left a lot of those plastics to the likes of ABCO and some of the more consumer-based organisations. So predominantly we're thinking about on-farm plastics, but I know that there's plastics throughout your supply chain. When we talk about agricultural plastics, it's important to note that there's very different polymers that are used to produce some of the plastics in our farming systems. And for that reason, we've gone through this process of categorising the different plastics. On the right side, you will see that there's a number of different plastic codes, and these are internationally recognised, that range from numbers 1 to 7, and they are different polymer types. So the ones that we see a lot of in the horticulture sector are HDPE, so number 2, LDPE, number 4, and also number 5, PP. You'll also note that we've categorised the plastics into 5 different areas. So if you look at the slide on the top left-hand side, the first area is around protective films. And in the vegetable industry, that's a lot of polytunnels, crop cover films, but also the plastic mulch that a lot of growers use in their production systems. We then have a category around piping, irrigation and drainage. And a lot of those irrigation pipes are either LDPE, HDPE, but also PVC we've talked about as well. So that's number 4 plastic code. Nets and mesh becoming increasingly used in a lot of horticulture production systems, includes things such as shade cloth, but also protective netting that might be used for protection against hail and also for protection against rain. We then have bagging, twine and ropes, and there's many examples, the bulker bags, and also what Adam will be talking around bag muster, getting some of those bags that are used for fertilisers and seeds. They're some of the bags that we are referring to in that category. And then the last one is around storage trays and labels. So you can see that there's a range of plastics that are used across the industry. And I guess the important thing to note that plastics are a really important part of production systems. And it's what we're trying to talk about now is how we can improve the end of life management of those plastics to make sure that they're not impacting on the environment once they've been used. So just an overview of the work that we've done around agricultural plastics. We've did the first sort of benchmarking back in 2021 of the amount of plastic that is used annually on farm. And at that time, we came up with a number of about 100,000 tonnes. We expect that that number is higher now, and it's likely to be increasing, especially when we see some of these major weather events. A lot of people are using plastics to protect their crops. So it's understandable that plastics are increasing in their use. We also know that about approximately 2/3 are used in the horticulture sector, and that also makes sense. As we get more intensive production systems, it's more important to protect the crop. Often there's limited alternative products to plastic. Plastic is a really good material. It's strong. It has really fit for purpose in a lot of production systems. And so thinking of alternatives can be a challenge, but that is something that we have focused on. There's logistical challenges, as we all know, and how do we make it easy for growers to overcome some of those logistical challenges? Properties are often dispersed and there's long distance to transport plastic, and we don't want to be transporting air and dirt with the plastic. So how do we make the material easy to be collected and easy to be transported? One of the big things in talking with the recyclers is that they don't want contamination, and so it's really important that we think about minimising the organic material, so plant and soil material, and also metals. And that's a big one for the plastic recyclers, to make sure that they want to take agricultural plastics. Often there's a lack of market demand for the products that are made from recycled plastics. And so you may have seen examples of fence posts, chairs. There's a whole lot of material that's in the market, but often the demand for that isn't sufficient to ensure that there's a lot of plastic being recycled. And the other issue that we do have is that virgin plastic is often cheaper than recycled plastic. We also have limited plastic recycling infrastructure at a federal government level. There's been a lot of funding that's gone into addressing this issue and increasing the amount of infrastructure that's available for recycling. But we still have areas where the recycling infrastructure is limited. Victoria has a number of recyclers, Brisbane also, New South Wales, less of an infrastructure available in that state. We've also considered the potential for a national stewardship scheme. It's currently not supported by industry, and partly that's because there's a whole lot of diverse different plastics that are considered in the industry, and it's very hard to bring all those industry sectors together. So we did some work again back in 2021 around looking at the amount of waste production. And this is a heat map that provides a summary of the types of plastics that are produced, particularly in the vegetable industry. So we have this for all of agriculture, but you can drill down into just the vegetable industry. Not surprising, it follows where the most intense production of vegetables are, which makes complete sense. It's based on ABS 2021 data. And you can see that, those protective films and irrigation are very large volumes, and less so the drums and the nets and mesh. But I think that nets and mesh level would be increasing, particularly in some of the fruit crops that we see. So I guess as a big picture view, and we will get into the detail with Adam and Lok we're trying to consider some of the solutions for the future. And to do this, we've actually used the waste hierarchy, which many of you would be familiar with. So if we think about plastic, probably prevention and reduction is at the top of the hierarchy. But as I've already mentioned, plastic is a really important part of production systems, and so there's not always a alternative to the plastic. An example where we have considered an alternative is the biodegradable film, and I think many on the call would know that that has its issues, but there's some work that's being done to try and make it more practical for use in a vegetable production system. We then move down to reuse, and probably the area that we're focusing on today is the mechanical recycling, where we can manage to take products such as drums, recycle them, and then they can go back into drums in some cases. We have some other options that are less attractive, such as advanced recycling, waste to energy, and then landfill. I should just say landfill is a better option than on-farm disposal. And so if landfill is available, I think it can be the best option rather than either burying or stockpiling on farm. I should say that burning and burying are illegal, but often that is what happens in some instances. So the solutions that we've focused on at a big picture level have been really targeting different plastic types, and we try to single out a particular plastic type so that the recycler can recycle it without contamination from other plastic types. There needs to be sufficient quantity and also sufficient quality, and from that I mean not contamination. So we've looked at targeting plastics such as protective films, also in some areas irrigation pipes, and also, as I've said, increasingly we're seeing a lot of plastic netting and shade cloth. So there's some of the programs that we've looked at with different councils and industries to think of, okay, what do we do about some of these problem plastics? I think it's really important that we are aware that there's already programs in place and that we need to complement some of these existing schemes and build awareness around them. So Adam's going to be talking about drum muster and bag muster. We also have a program called Big Bag Recovery, and in some instances, irrigation companies such as Netafim have some programs in place, and one of those is called Recoil. Some of the work that we've done has also focused very much on the regional solutions, so making sure that we work with local government and industry to look at what can be done at a regional level. And the things that we need to focus on in those instances is the local collection points, regional infrastructure, looking at some bespoke on-farm machinery, and we've just brought in some machinery from the US, looking to separate irrigation tape and mulch in southeast Queensland, and also build and grow awareness and capability. And that's part of today's session, is just making sure that people know how to access some of this information. So with the industry, that's very much about building grower awareness and capability. We've worked with the cut flower sector, the strawberry industry and vegetable sector to increase the availability of fact sheets, but also access to people like Adam, who's with AgSafe, to make sure that people are really aware on the practical, on the ground, how do they go about dealing with their plastic waste on farm. I just touched on briefly some of the alternatives, and this is one study that we did to look at soil biodegradable plastic mulch film. It was a case study considering the costs associated with biodegradable mulch film versus traditional mulch film. And there were some challenges, but there were also some significant benefits. So we developed up a bit of a cost analysis and showed that the costs were similar if you considered all of the savings, particularly around installation and removal costs. Okay, so what I might do now is hand over to Adam, who's going to talk to us about the AgSafe Stewardship Program. Adam is the Stewardship Program's field coordinator, and he's going to run through for us some of the programs that AgSafe manage, including drum muster, bag muster, and ChemClear. So I'll hand over to Adam. And also just a reminder for everyone, if you have any questions as we're going through, please put them in the QA or chat, and we'll be able to answer them as we go through. So thanks, Adam. And just a reminder, you need to take yourself off mute.
Hello. Can everyone hear me? Yes?
Yes, thanks. That's great.
Sorry, I just need to, I can't see my notes here because they're all... Okay. Hello, thanks, Anne. My name's Adam Burberry. I'm the Stewardship Programs Field Coordinator with AgSafe. And today I'm going to be walking you through how we're supporting Australian agriculture with a safe disposal and recycling of on-farm plastics and chemicals. Firstly, I'll give you a quick overview of who AgSafe is. Then I'll run through our key programs, which are ChemClear, Drum Muster and Bag Muster. And I'll also give you a brief overview of member services and share some of the progress we're seeing, as well as where things are heading, and especially with needing to meet the national packaging standards, which will come into effect by 2030. The aim of the standards are to ensure packaging is designed to be reusable, recyclable, or compostable, increase the proportion of plastic packaging that is recovered and processed through recycling or composting systems, improve the use of recycled materials within packaging, and eliminate problematic and unnecessary single-use plastic items. The main goal today is to give you a clear understanding of what's available, how it works, and how easy it is to get involved, and what we're doing to meet the requirements of the new national standards for packaging which come into effect in 2030, and how we're going to help Australian agriculture achieve these. AgSafe, where we are. AgSafe was established in 1993 as an industry-led non-for-profit organisation following a commitment to product stewardship by the Board of Agricultural and Veterinary Chemical Association, which is now CropLife Australia. AgSafe was launched to deliver the industry flagship stewardship programs by ensuring safe transport, storage and handling of agricultural and veterinary chemicals throughout the supply chain. The stewardship initiative includes the AgSafe member services, Drum Muster, ChemClear and Bag Muster programs. Our vision? The vision is to be the world leader in the development and operation of industry-led product stewardship initiatives. Our mission is to elevate agricultural practices by prioritising safety, sustainability and product stewardship. On to our programs.
Just a question, can you perhaps lean in a bit closer to the microphone? Yeah.
Is it not? Is that coming through better?
I think that's better. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Our three main stewardship programs are the ChemClear, which is the safe disposal of unwanted chemicals, which are obsolete and legacy chemicals. Lots of these are found on farms that have transferred through a generation or have been recently purchased. Drum muster, which is containers, AgVet containers, spray chemicals and animal health products. And the last one is our most recent one, which is bag muster, which is recycling of polypropylene bags through collection agencies along with drum muster. Member services. I thought I should make mention of member services arm, which is an integral part of the life cycle of chemicals in Australian agriculture. Member service provides an in-depth review and evaluation of an AgVet chemical retailer or distributor's facilities. It includes warehouses, storage areas and handling procedures, measures the business compliance with the AgSafe industry standard, and it's conducted by certified AgSafe facilitators. Assessment identifies potential risks, highlights best practices and provides tailored recommendations to ensure facilities operate in line with industry safety and compliance requirements. ChemClear. ChemClear is a national stewardship program ensuring safe collection and disposal of agricultural chemicals. Since 2003, ChemClear has safely disposed of over 1 million chemicals of 1 million litres of obsolete chemicals. There are two groups of chemicals being Group 1 chemicals. These are free collections as long as they meet the following criteria. They must be in their original containers with intact labels, manufactured by participating drum muster companies, registered or deregistered within the last 2 years, are not held by distributors or AgVet stores as unwanted inventory. Group 2 chemicals. These chemicals may still be collected but incur a disposal fee. These are no longer registered for use, exceeding 2 years from deregistration. They're unknown, unlabelled, expired, or mixed AgVet chemicals. Right, on to drum muster. Drum muster is the national product stewardship program that collects and recycles eligible and empty and clean AgVet chemical drums. It's funded by a single source of revenue through manufacturers who declare sales quarterly in arrears. There's 700 collection sites across Australia. There's a flat fee per litre sold funds through the program. This fee used to be a regulatory function but was made voluntary in 2023 at industry request with regulator approval. Participation by brands has increased 10% since transition. Here's a slide of the drum muster stats to date. It says 46 million, but we're actually sitting at 47 million drums recycled. There's 700 collection sites across Australia. It's diverted over 48,000 tonnes from landfill. We've been operating for 25 years. We've got 1,500 trained inspectors and we have 160 active community groups. So how does it work? Firstly, you've got to make sure your containers are eligible. The drum muster logo is on the container in the form of a sticker or embossed into plastic. You can see an example in the top right corner of what the drum muster logo looks like. Then you must triple rinse and remove lids. Lids can't be recycled in the same manner as the drums because they're made from a different polymer, so they need to be removed. You need to find a collection point via AgSafe. This can be found via the AgSafe website, and you can take note of any specific instructions for the collection site. Some require booking in advance if large numbers wanting to be delivered, and some have limited opening hours. You then take your containers there and drop them off at the drum muster site. All containers are collected by a qualified inspector to ensure they're eligible and they're clean. Collection sites near you. This is a screenshot from the AgSafe website. You can go on here and type in your address and it will give you the closest collection site to your location, along with contact details, operating hours, any other requirements. So it's worthwhile checking on this before you actually head out. Bag muster. Bag muster is our most recent initiative that's been added to the AgSafe programs. This aims at diverting single-use woven polypropylene from landfill through our network of dedicated collection sites, which will eventually be all over Australia as drum muster is. The program is led by CropLife Australia in collaboration with Australian Seed Federation and operated by AgSafe. There are two different models. One works the same way as Drummuster, utilising existing Drummuster infrastructure to operate collection from. The other is a fee-for-service operation where membership is offered based on the turnover of the business. This then allows the business to access a fee-for-service program whereby we provide a quote on your estimated tonnes, and then we transport that to GT Recycling in Geelong, where a final invoice is generated according to the weighbridge and adjusted accordingly. The rollout of Bagmuster is aligned to recycling readiness and infrastructure availability across each state. Currently, Victoria has 45 collection sites open. The reason we started in Victoria was because of the capacity to recycle. We're only expanding Bagmuster as we can commit to recycling in that area. GT Recycling is the recycler we use in Geelong. The next state we're moving into is Tasmania, and collections will commence, well, they're commencing now in April, and will officially be opening there in May. New South Wales, we're preparing for collections in late 2026 we're using partnerships with race groups to support council engagement, and we're securing formal council participation agreements as we speak. Currently, through the Bagmuster program, we've diverted more than 100 tonnes from landfill. Operation and progress. The initial corridor was set up from Mildura in the northwest corner of Victoria down through to Geelong, where GT Recycling is located. We commenced collecting drums on the 6th of March in 2025. All these sites operate from existing Drummuster collection sites. We have new sites opening in Victoria, and we'll be opening them right up through to the end of 2026. New South Wales will start collection when a recycling partner is confirmed and sufficient collection sites are ready to go. Right, how to prepare bags. Firstly, they must be made of woven polypropylene, bulk bags, seed bags, grain bags, etc. The bags must be free of contaminants, fertiliser and any other contaminant must be removed. And they can't be covered in mud. They can be a little bit, but it can't be covered in them because it just won't recycle. For bulk bags, ideally folded and placed in one bag and presented to the collection agency for inspection. Like with Drummuster, you will then be presented with a form with how many bags you recycled, which you can use for your own records or potentially Q&A and accreditation programs in the future. This is the bag-to-bag trial. This is an exciting development. Basically, we've sent some collected bags, bulk bags, to India, and we're manufacturing them into bulk bags using recycled bulk bags. So it's going to be a full circular system. It's still in trial and development, but hopefully that will be coming soon.
Adam, I've just got a question for you. Can the bags be damaged? I think the answer is yes.
Yes, they can, as long as they're made of woven polypropylene and they're not, they haven't got any fertiliser or anything else in them, then they're fine to be recycled.
Great, thanks.
Bagmuster, we're expanding into Tassie. This is the first major rollout since opening in Victoria, which is a significant milestone. This is pretty close to my heart because I'm based in Tasmania and I've been the one rolling it out across the state. Basically, there's been interest in Tassie right from the get-go as soon as we opened in Victoria, so it's good to see it happening now down here. All the councils and farmers and retail arms have been really supportive. So currently we've rolled out across 13 councils and 21 collection sites, with more to follow as councils are ready to open. The official opening's on the 4th of May, but any area that's ready to go can start collecting now, depending on making sure they've got infrastructure set up and they've had their staff trained. Basically, it's best to refer to the AgSafe website for specific information that area is opening up in Tassie. Right, there's a bit of a map of Tasmania of where the collection sites will all be. Well, that's the full. Once every drum muster site has a bag muster site, that's going to be the full picture. At the moment, there's 20 ready to go and more to follow. Right. Oh, this is. Now I'll move on to our AgSafe product stewardship work, which was launched between the 16th and the 22nd of March in 2026, just a couple of weeks ago. That's all the AgSafe team. You can see we're all scattered about across the country. A lot of us work remotely. So it was launched between the 16th and 22nd of March. The aim was to highlight the importance of product stewardship in Australian agriculture. We brought together members, partners, and industry stakeholders. Shared informative content and resources across the AgSafe channels. Reached hundreds of thousands with strong engagement and high levels of sharing and stakeholder engagement. Next step is building momentum for the Project Stewardship Week in 2027. The message was showcasing industry commitment to responsible stewardship of products, people, and the environment. This is just a slide of the product lifestyle and how AgSafe fits into it. You can see the member services, the transport, storage, transport and distribution. And then we deal with it again at waste management and disposal of obsolete chemicals. The future of recycling, problematic plastics in agriculture. A couple that come to mind are silage wrap and pallet wrap. One of the main reasons silage wrap is so problematic is the high organic matter. It's not easy to recycle in mechanical recycling. But new technology is starting to address this. One example is pyrolysis, which is heating plastics at high temperatures without oxygen, effectively converts them back into oil or feedstock. There's work happening locally, APR Plastics Recycling, developing a plant in Victoria. The other form of recycling that's progressing is through a company called Lysella. They're working on hydrothermal liquefaction, which uses hot pressurised water and turns waste into a fossil fuel substitute. I guess the key message is the technology is coming, the system is improving, and what we do now sets it up for the future. For further information about any of our products, it's best to head to the AgSafe website. There's frequently asked question pamphlets. There's information about where you can drop off bags, drums, and member services, and lots of other information and news. That concludes my presentation.
Great. Thanks, Adam. And I should say a couple of things. First of all, that AgSafe website is a wealth of information. And so make sure you go on there so you can find the collection sites near you. I'm sure a lot of you are already using drum muster, and I'd say that 65% collection rate is an amazing rate and an amazing achievement. We estimate that for all other plastics across the board, it's sort of more in the order of 7 to 10%. So it just shows how successful drum muster has been. And I guess the other thing that Adam mentioned is technology is changing very rapidly. So there are some solutions that are coming on board. I guess a number of them aren't implemented and aren't on the ground at the moment, but in 5 years' time, we'll be seeing this area change pretty quickly. Again, if you have any questions, please either put them in the chat or the Q&A section, and we'll be able to answer them as we go. So, Adam, if you can stop sharing your screen, and we'll now go to have a chat with Locke. So Locke Chow is the agronomist with Coolabah Herbs. and we just wanted to have a bit of a discussion around some of the experiences that they're having with plastics and managing the waste, and some of the solutions that they've come up with. So thanks, Locke. So first of all, just interested in what some of the main plastics that you're dealing with in your business.
Yeah, thanks, Anne-Marie. So we're like a salad, leafy veg and herb grower in Victoria. So most of our on-farm waste is coming from chemical drums, which generally goes to drum muster, which is pretty good. The other big program that we're using would be big bag recovery. So that's our bulker bags and smaller 25 kilo fertilizer bags, which we go through quite a lot of. So those are the two ones that are sort of, I guess, in like get a tick. But then we have the pallet wrapping, and I'd say PVC piping is probably another one that we're missing there.
Mm-hmm. And just with your the drum muster, where do you drop off your drums to? Is it a local collection site, or do they come and
No, so we take them to the local mewers. So they act as a collection site for us. I'm not sure how they are everywhere else, but yeah, the one in Clyde down in Victoria for us is.
Yeah, I think that highlights the importance to go onto the website and just see what your most local collection site is. Yeah. And the big bag recovery is a program for bulker bags that they're picking up from your place.
Yeah. So that one was a little bit trickier. We sort of, because they take up so much space, we had to sort of find some room in the shed to store them out of the weather, because they don't want to come and just grab one pallet space worth. They sort of want at least maybe like around 6 to 10, and fill a whole truck pretty much each time. So we had to make up some cages, and sort of train the staff to properly roll the bags up and put them in and get them nice and organized so that they're good to go when they're ready for collection.
Right. Okay. And how often would they be collected then, Locke, or have they been collected yet? Or
yeah, so we got one done just last week, and then the one before that would have been maybe two. I'm thinking it's probably every 2.5 months.
Okay. Yep. Great.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've talked about is plastic mulch is a big problem in some systems, but I understand you don't use it, even though you're growing in soil. So just wondering how you manage your weeds and to sort of get around that need for using plastic mulch.
Yeah, so we've got a laser weeder, which takes care of a fair few of the weeds. We also still use pre-emergent herbicides, and we have manual weeding as well, essentially, because we're about 45% certified organic, so you still have a fair bit of manual labour in the field. Yeah,
okay, so that's a great example of moving away from the need of to use plastics. So that's an interesting one. You also mentioned PVC, so from irrigation pipes. What do you do with them currently if you need to dispose of those PVC pipes?
Yeah, so at the moment, it just goes in general waste essentially, so that then ends up in the tip. So that's probably one that would be good to address in the near future.
Yeah, and I think the other one that everyone's crying out for a solution to is the pallet wrap, and Adam mentioned that as well. So what happens with pallet wrap at the moment?
Same thing, just goes to the tip.
Yeah. So you are paying for landfill, and I think across Australia, landfill costs around 200 to 250 tons. $250 a ton, which is an expensive option, but I guess that ensures that you're not having to stockpile it or dispose of it on farm. So is there any comment on that? It's just something that you have to do. And how often would you be getting rid of a skip each week?
Yeah, I guess at our main site we've got like I think maybe 6 or 7 skips just lined up there, and then they'll come and collect, or maybe every couple months as well. Not exactly sure the details there, but yeah, it's a significant cost to the business. So yeah, there would be, if there is alternatives to moving them towards a better sort of area for disposal.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a complete sort of cost on top, because you would be reducing the tip costs as well.
Yeah, so I think that's an example where it's a better option than having it on farm, but it's an expensive option. What would make it easier for you? I guess because you are sending stuff off for landfill, you're not having storage issues on farm. What would be the easiest outcome for some of that pallet wrap, and how would it make it an easier way for you to keep your farm clean and get rid of that waste?
Yeah, I guess because like there's a lot of people that work here, and a lot of the waste is disposed by a lot of different hands. So you want things to be as convenient and easy as possible. So if programs were developed where they sort of provide the disposal on farm and then collect as well, so whether that's like a certain type of bin that can be sort of easily identified, and all those kind of things, would make, I guess, transition a lot simpler and easier. Yeah, but I don't think, is there any sort of scheme for PVC at the moment? I don't think there is.
There is a program with the Plumbing Institute, Piper. It's been piloted in different areas, but probably not so much with farms, but more in the construction side. So there are some options. It's just about getting the quantity and the quality of it, so it's worth their while to pick it up. So but certainly worth a discussion. I guess the things that you mentioned around awareness, but also education, so everyone understands what's required and how you don't get contamination, is really important.
Yeah, I think that point you made about the collection and having to sort of generate enough waste for a collection is probably a big one. And something I have looked at is sort of trying to speak with the other growers in the area and getting them on the same programs, and then therefore you can do a sort of group collection in the same spot. Because I think with something like PVC piping, one farm's not gonna, you're gonna have to have a massive bin somewhere that just takes up too much space.
Yeah, and that's a really important point that we have been dealing with is the aggregation. So you've got sufficient volume, and often that might mean taking it to a council collection site. So we have worked with a few councils who might be doing drum muster, and talking to them about, okay, can you collect irrigation pipe as well, or can you collect some other material in addition to your drum muster? What's the sort of objective for you to minimise the plastic waste on the property?
I mean, the main part would be environmental. I guess there is, like you said, with the tip costs, there would be cost reductions there. With drum muster, it being a free program, that would definitely be a cost saving there. But then, like Big Bag is a paid scheme where you sort of pay per set amount of kilos per year. So it's the main one would be environmental, I would say, and then just trying to reduce the amount of waste generated as well is sort of the goal.
Okay, and have you got any other examples around generating less waste? I think we talked about how you get your fertilizer delivered, and so the powdered product.
Yeah, so just looking at products where you can supplement or use dry products instead of liquids, which reducing transport costs, and then generally would reduce the amount of plastic that you're using as well. Yeah, so we look at that quite heavily where it's practical and works in agronomic sense as well. Yeah, besides that, there's not, we're a little bit like at the mercy of the suppliers in a lot of senses where we can only sort of take what is offered.
And any plans for the future, or are you sort of waiting to see some of these technologies and programs come on board and you'd be interested in being involved? Like, is there anything in the short term that you're looking to change?
I guess in terms of like seeing what sort of tech comes out, it would be great to see more of that sort of like flow wrapping, being bio-based flow wrapping, which does exist, but the cost there at the moment is quite high compared to what we use as standard. So for like a processing facility where we create pillow packs and that kind of stuff for the salad, it would be good to just create less plastic waste there to begin with alternatives or
So it sounds as though you're looking at alternatives all the time and how you might be able to both reduce the amount of waste that you create, but also look at how you manage that waste end of life. So it's been a really great discussion. Thank you, Locke. And as I've said, if there's any other questions for Locke or Adam, please put them in the chat, or you can just put your hand up too, and you can speak to that question. Are there any collection centres for used drip tapes in Victoria? So that is a really interesting question. Netafim had a program called Recoil, where they would pick up drip tape if there were sufficient volumes. Also, depending on where you are, there's also potential for some of the regional areas, Swan Hill and Mildura. So if you want to give me a call after the webinar, I might be able to put you in touch with someone that would be interested in the drip tape. But again, it has to be not contaminated and in sufficient volumes is the issue. So we might go to the closing out. I guess the key takeaways for the discussion are that there's no necessarily silver bullet to managing plastic waste on site. There are a number of programs that are available, and we're really encouraging you to take advantage of those existing programs. As Adam has said, and also Locke, there is quite a development in new technology, but also in programs coming on board, such as Bagmaster. So the landscape's changing, and I think if you can just keep it front of mind about how you want to manage your plastics, as Locke has described, keep it in mind also how you might reduce the amount of plastics that you're using. But when you're getting product, also ask if they are interested, if the supplier has a solution for end-of-life management, because that's a really important question to ask to start pushing back on the supplier about how that plastic might be managed at the end. So Jessie, if you could just bring up the last couple of slides. I just wanted to highlight a few resources that the Soil Wealth ICP team have put together. There's a few fact sheets looking beyond plastic mulch film and also plastics recycling and alternatives to plastic mulch. So they are available on the Soil Wealth website. And then the next one, we also have what we call farm waste portal, and it has a summary of the major sort of technical pieces of information for growers, for farmers. It's not just vegetable growers, but for all agriculture. And so if you click on the plastic waste tab, you'll be able to see some of the resources that we have there. We've also tried to link in some of the program people, so there's information around AgSafe, but also Piper, the one I mentioned for the PVC pipes as well. So that's the sort of summary of the key information around on-farm plastics and some of the solutions. As I mentioned, no silver bullets for some plastics, but there's certainly a lot of work that's been done to look at solutions in the background and make sure that we can have some end-of-life solutions for some of those problematic plastics. So if there's no more questions, we might finish the webinar there. And thank you everyone for your time. This webinar will be made available as a recording, and so we'll be able to send that around, and it'll also be accessible on the Soil Wealth ICP website. So thanks everyone. See you later.